Hello everyone, good evening. We'll be starting the session by 7:05 max. We are just waiting for people to join in, and as always. By the time any questions or queries, feel free to post it on the chat box. I'll be happy to answer them. Sujita, please go ahead. What's your question? Please post it in the chat. Why am I here? So by the time I'll just share my screen. Sujita, you can unmute yourself in case there's an oral question. Okay. So as a career path for data analyst, you need to first understand data. So that would be the first, if you are talking in terms of the workflow or the roadmap, first thing is get a better understanding of what kind of data, what is row, what is column, what is value, all those things. Once you get a hang of that, then next things becomes easy for you. So that would be the first trail path, that you need to understand data. Once you understand the data, then it comes to like KPIs and you can put it like understanding or rather representing the data. That's where calculation and all those DAX functions and everything comes in the picture. But the ground up, if I have to ask, I would request please be very much familiarize yourself with Excel, because that will be the base element of any and every software. So if you are able to make yourself comfortable with Excel, basically the takeaway would be like, worst case situation, if you're not able to get the number crunched in, let's say, Tableau or Power BI, then you can get it done in Excel and then upload it and then use it. So for data analyst, the base understanding is data. Then the platform that I would recommend is Excel, the mandate. Followed by that, any visualization platform, which would be Power BI, Tableau, or there are other platforms like Nine is there. Then I guess ClickView is there. Then Data Studio is there. So there are a lot many platforms. So you can explore them as we go. Yashwant, I hope that answers your question. Okay, cool. So what kind of job role would a person usually come? Job role is basically data analyst. Job role is one of the option. Business analyst is there. There are a lot many. So basically, anything in terms of data mining, data analyst, data forecast, or like business analyst, business insight, business like idle business. So there are many. So you can go with any and many platforms. So once you understand the data, the options are huge. So you don't have to worry on that. Tanvaya, I hope that answers your question. Okay, got it. Perfect. Kapil, please go ahead. What's your question? You can post in the chat. One more minute, guys, and then we'll start with our session for the day. What is DAX? Okay, so DAX is data analytical expression. Moreover, simply put, like Excel, you might have learned formulas, right? So it's the same version for Power BI. So for Power BI, it's called as DAX. That's the only difference. So moreover, the output is the same thing. But yes, definitely DAX has a little bit of higher level of calculation with bit more complexity. So yeah, it is different, definitely, no doubt about that. But it totally depends on the approach that we take in and the kind of output we put into it. When to use DAX? Definitely, it is to be used whenever you are doing complex calculations, like if you are in the 2020 data year and you are looking for a previous year data, so something like that. Or let's say if you are looking for a range bound answer, when you want to compare the huge chunk with a sample chunk. So something like that, maybe ratio based output. So whenever it comes to that kind of an output, you use DAX. And again, there are many ways and many output that you can play around with it. But once you get the understanding of DAX, then you will get an idea. So if I have to say simple put, Tableau LOD, if you are familiar, then that's exactly what DAX is over here. I hope that answers the question, Kapil. Yeah. Can you please explain shortly how? Okay, so to get the World Happiness Report, what we did is we actually collated this data from internet. So firstly, we went to Google and just typed down, let's say, World Happiness Report Wiki. So Wikipedia, it gave us a Wikipedia page, and from that page, we just collated the data here. Once the data got collated, then we just incorporated the contents into it. So only thing that we have done the change here was mark this country as a location. And to do that, we just clicked on that particular column. And then from the drop down on the column tools, we specified the column type, in this case, which was country. And that's how we tagged it as a country. And when we use it into the map or the visualization, we were able to tag it with the proper location. So that's basically how we were able to use this visualization. And definitely there were other contents into it, like freedom to make lives. These are all numbers, or these are all values that we'll be using in today's session. Okay. Namita, to answer your question, which certification we should be doing for Power BI, to be honest, trust me on this line, that in the corporate world, if you're asking, certification always comes secondary. The primary is what is your capability. So if you are, let's say, going into a corporate world and you are looking for an interview, let me put it like this, simple in a blunt term. If I am taking up your interview, I will not be looking into the certificates. I rather will ask you, are you comfortable or are you familiar with Excel or Power BI or the platform that I'm interviewing you? And if your answer is yes to it, I'll not be looking into certificate. I'll rather give you a file and I'll ask you to execute the output. If you're able to execute that output to the satisfaction of my desire, then definitely I'll take the point further and I'll have a further discussion. But definitely, if you are not able to perform it, then the certification can backfire. Basically, in that case, I'll make a note of the certification for which industry or which company, or let's say which education center you are doing it, so that I can make a note of it, that from this center, if this particular persons or any new recruitments are happening, I do a thorough check in that case. So that can be one of the cases that may happen. So we'll have to be very niche in terms of understanding certification. So certification is just a support document to adhere to the point that, okay, the person is, let's say, qualified or has the learning or has learned the process. So that's just the side. But implementation is the core here. So that's just a gist of it. Even if you don't have certification but have a good knowledge of the software, that's also fine. Sir, please explain once. Okay, so we will be working on World Happiness Report today, so we'll get an understanding in a detailed manner. So just maybe, as we are anyways discussing, just maybe 1 more minute, and then we'll start our content today. So basically, just a base understanding was we had the data here, we had collated map plots and all those things. So basically, we use the first, second, and third map over here. These are the 3 maps that we use, and with that, with the ArcGIS. ArcGIS, as I mentioned earlier, it's a map which helps you in a very detailed version. As of now, not required, although, but definitely in the future, if you are coming across that output, then It will really add value to it. Tanaya, and thank you very much for the feedback. I really appreciate that. So I'll see to it that I continue with the same approach. So thank you very much for your feedback. Okay, guys, so it's about a time. So let's get started with today's content. So, okay. Now I would request all of you. We actually started at a scatter plot, but we did not go in detail. So today our understanding would be more in terms of what all type of scatter plot we can build in using the world happiness report. And parallel to that, we will also be understanding a little bit more about the relationship concepts. So I request all of you to please add up a new sheet, maintain the sheet as it is. So that's scatter sheet. Let's keep it as it is. Just add a new sheet, give it a name. Scatter AN. That's scatter analysis. And once you're done till here, please type done in the chat box so that I am affirmed that you guys are all on the same page. Great, guys. Great. Okay, I have 3 confirmations waiting for others. I believe it is just taking time to launch Power BI. It's fine. I'll wait for a minute max. Excuse me. Okay. Now, in this case, what I would want is now yesterday we did understand a scatter plot in a little bit in a base manner. So let's try one. So I want all of us to please create a scatter. But this time, just let's use the first half or 1/4 of the block. Just let's use the 1/4 of the block. In this case, I want to make a simple correlation between the data. Okay. So in this case, I'll pick up, let's say, GDP into the x-axis, GDP into the x-axis, percentage of corruption into the y-axis. I repeat, GDP into the x-axis, percentage of corruption into the y-axis, and country into the value. That way I can see exactly the range bound answer. This is a standard, let's say you can put it like the scatter plot. This is a standard scatter plot. I guess you guys can do this faster. Just complete till here. Again, once you guys are done, please type done till here. Great. I have one confirmation. Okay, awesome, awesome. Now, in this situation, now this is just a standard info. But let's say I want to see more detail. Let's say when I hover the mouse on this one outlier over here, first and foremost, I can see it's a sum of GDP per capita, sum of percentage of corruption, country. So I want to make it a little bit more clean and easy to read. For country, I am fine with that. For the country part, I'm fine with that. But let's say, for example, I want to see the other details a bit more better. So what I do is, I will rather remove, like it is GDP per capita, I'll just rename it as GDP. Okay, GDP slash capita. That's it. So I can just double click on the axis over here and name it properly so that when I hover the mouse now in this situation, it gives me the data directly. Let's say I'll just also put it at just GDP. That's it. So basically this is the GDP. And then basically I want percentage of corruption. So I'll just name it corruption percentage. That's it. So in this case, I'm just making these a little bit more readable. So when I'm hovering the mouse on these information, I get a bit more detailed understand or a bit more detailed report, rather making myself a bit more confusing in what is sum of GDP, sum of percentage of corruption. So whenever you are making a visual, always see to it that you are making the visual easy to read for the end user. But in this case, I want more details. Let's say I am given GDP, I'm giving percentage of corruption. I also want to see the overall rating. What's the overall rating? What's the percentage of freedom to make life choices? What's the percentage of healthy life expectation? I need these information also, but I cannot disturb my scatter plot here. I cannot disturb the arrangement. I cannot disturb the sizing and everything. And neither I want to incorporate color in this case. So what I do here is I scroll down a little. I'm not going into legend, definitely not, because legend will simply plot every number as a color. So I'll not recommend doing that. Size, I cannot do it because depending on that, the bigger, the smaller the size will happen. So I'll not take that up as an option. Play axis, definitely not an option in this case because I don't want to play around the numbers. So here, the last option I'm left with is a tooltip. Now, what's a tooltip here? Tooltip, as the name suggests, it gives you additional information. Right? It gives you the tip in this case. So how do you incorporate tooltip into your visualization? Rule number one, whichever visual you want to apply the tooltip on, that visual has to be selected. Once the visual is selected, from the right side, there are a list of options, right? So from the list of options, whatever parameter you want to have an additional information, whatever you want as an additional information, drag it into the tooltip. Let's say, for example, I would like to have, let's say, overall rating first. So I'll put it over here. So as said earlier, it gives you sum because the calculation is sum in this case. So I'll double click and I'll remove this. And I just set it overall rating. I'll set it as overall rating. That's done for the first one. If you realize when I'm using tooltip, my visual is not changing, but when I hover the mouse on any of the circle, it does give me the ranking number. It does give me the overall ranking number. Secondly, I'll just drag, let's say, freedom to make life choice. Let me put it into the tooltip under. Again, it will definitely give me the tag here. So freedom. So let's say I'll just put it like freedom for, or let's say I'll put it free for life choices. So I'll just make it shorter and easy to understand. That way the communication becomes better. So 60% of people over here are allowed to take their life choices. So that's the threshold in this case. Similarly, I can also drag healthy life expectation into the tooltip. Or let's say in this case, I'll just put it life expectancy. So in that case, I can put it like this info. So when I hover the mouse in any of these circles here, so I can say Singapore has a GDP of 1.52. The percentage of corruption is around 53%. Overall ranking is 31. general freedom of making life choices is 64%, and life expectancy is around 114%. This way, the communication becomes smoother and the communication is easy to understand with just a hover info. I would request all of you to please try this out first at your end. Anytime, any questions, feel free to ask. I'll take a pause for 1 minute to 2 minutes. Any questions, let me know. Kapil, go ahead. What's your question? You can unmute yourself.
JK, this has added in filter also.
Sorry, I have not added in the filter.
No, if you see in the filters.
Okay. You mean to say it gets added in the filter? Yes.
Yes.
Added in the filter, because any visual that you incorporate here will get added into the filters as well.
Okay, this is only for the visuals.
Yeah, this is only for the visual, but the filter, because here, see, this particular filter plays a different role, because this filter is only for the visual. There are actually 3 levels of filter. One is a visual level filter, then there is something called a page level filter, and then there is all page filter. So this is something at a very advanced level. We will be learning at the last day. So the use of this is to make sure, let's say if I want to have only a specific element, in that case, I'll use these. Let's say, for example, just to show you, I can have a filter over here, like I only want to see a specific country list. Let's say Asia, EMEA. So in that case, I just select those countries here. Or let's say I want to see a percent GDP where it is beyond 100%. So I can simply put a greater than 100 or greater than 10. So something like that. So this is a filter that we can apply in, and that gets applied onto the existing selected filter. And the same layer is applicable for other, that is for page and for, let's say in this case, I'm representing a sales report, but I have a report of north, east, west, south. I only want to show the north page in this case, and the next page south and next west. But whenever another person comes and add a new visual here, he should only see the result of north. He should not see entire result. In that case, you will use the page level filter. That means anything that gets created on this page will be implemented with this filter. An all page filter, as it's a suggested name, that anything that happens in this particular Power BI file will be implemented with that filter rule. I hope that answers the standard question.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, JK.
Welcome. Okay, cool. I hope everyone is done till here. So I move on to the next one. So this is the first layer of visualization where you are incorporating majority of the fields. Now let's put another scatter plot. So I would request all of you to please click on a second scatter. Please click on a second scatter. In this situation, I would request all of you to please take freedom to make life choice in the x-axis and healthy life expectation into the y-axis. Or let me put it in a different way. Let me not take this. Let me pick up, okay, generosity into the x-axis and social support into the y-axis. Let's pick this up. Let me keep this calculation for now. Just complete till here. You should be seeing a single dot. Let me know if your visualization matches mine. If it is same, just type same in the chat box. If you guys have the same interface, please type same. In this case, I'm not using value. I'm not using value. Let me open an Excel file. Just give it 1 minute. because I'll be needing an Excel file to explain this. Someone's mic is okay. Let me mute everyone. Okay, let me share the screen now. Okay. Now, in this case, what I want to help you understand is whenever in a visualization, when I drag country into the value, what's happening here is this particular data gets plotted, or this entire visual is plotted based on country. It means every circle over here has an information of a country here, right? But let's say the challenge here would be, now let me put an Excel over here. Now what's happening here is, so let's say if you are able to see Excel, let me squeeze it half screen. So let's say in this situation, what you are seeing is you have country. Okay. You have, let's say, x-axis and y-axis. Currently, what's happening here is, let's say, if I have to take India, you have, let's say 10, you have 10 over here, right? So if there is a scale of 10 is to 10, if there is a scale of 10 is to 10, your value is getting plotted based on that particular country value. Do we all agree to this? Do we all agree to this? Yes, no? Perfect. Now the challenge, what happens is whenever you have the same country, with a different number set, over here, by default, Excel, what it does is, or let's say in this case, scatterplot, what it is doing right now is, it's simply adding these two values and giving you a plot of 22 and 18, which is wrong. Because now it has to plot India twice with these axes. One would be, let's say, 10 raised to 10. The second one would be, let's say, somewhere around 12 raised to 8. It has to plot like these. These two dots has to be plotted. Rather, it is plotting me a data somewhat over here, which is a wrong communication. Don't you guys agree to this? Yes or no? Right? Now, this is the key essence, guys. This is where we understand how to present our data. This is where we understand how to, or where do I present our data. So let's understand that. So this time, I'm not using country into the value, because if I use a value, it will aggregate or it will accumulate the output. And I do not want to accumulate. So basically, I tell my Power BI, don't aggregate. So in this case, it's currently adding the value, right? So if here in the x-axis, you see it's a sum of generosity. I go to the drop down here, and in the drop down, I have a collection of calculation that I can perform. Starting with do not sum, average, max, min, and all. I want my system to understand. I don't want to calculate. If there is a number 10, plot that number 10 individually. If there's a number 20, plot that number 20 individually. Don't add 10 and 20 and make a 30 out of it. What do you think I should be selecting from this particular list? What is your gut feel says? From the top, considering remove field is 1, which is the number that I should be clicking on? Help me with the number in the chat box, guys. Do not sum. That's perfect. So when you click on do not sum, automatically you will see the scatter shows its true form. And then gradually you can perform the same for the second layer also. There's not mandate that you will have to do it for both. Even if you do it only for one, maintain the second as sum, is fine. That will give you another report, as you saw right now. So one is this. Let's say I maintain generosity as sum, do not sum, and social support as a summation. You get a different output altogether. So depending on what and how you want to portray your value, or what and how you want to portray the data, you can play around with that. Yes, but ground rule here, when you're using do not sum, in that case, you cannot plot a value now. If you try to plot a value, it will try to aggregate, and you have limited Power BI to aggregate it. So it will not be able to show an answer. In such case, apart from value, you can use every other field. For example, you can drag country into the legend. It can apply based on color. You can drag a value, let's say GDP, into the, let's say, bubble size here. So if you put it into the bubble size, it does give you the bubble size. You can put play axis. You can also put tooltip. But value is not allowed because you are limiting the visual to aggregate. Okay. So in this case, I would request all of you to please drag GDP into the size. GDP into the size. And or rather, let's do one thing. Let's not put GDP into the size. Let's plot this data a little bit differently. So let me just remove GDP from the size here. I do want GDP, but let's do this in a different way. I would like everyone to go to the marks and play with the conditional formatting that we learned yesterday. So let me put it as a diamond so that it looks a little bit shorter, or let me go with the X. Yeah. I will go to conditional formatting and I will pick up GDP as my value. The higher the GDP, I give a positive color. Let's say I will pick it as let's say I'll pick it as a dark green color, and let's say I'll pick the lighter color as yellowish and a tone of blue in the center, just to give a flame view. Or let's say, let me start with, let's say, red. Yeah, that's better. And here I'll put it as gray. Yeah, this is a tone that I'm going with. So red, blue, and gray. So red is for the highest value, blue is for the mid tone, and gray is for the light tone. I click OK, and that gives me the range bound answer. Please send the same formula on Power BI. I didn't. After I'm not able to understand. We are not using any formulas here, so we are using conditional formatting. So please repeat this. Don't summarize. Okay. So to do not summarize, what you have to do here is first select the visual. Once the value is added into the X and Y, you just go to the drop down of that XY field, and you can specify here do not sum, indicating or letting the system know that don't aggregate these numbers and plot the data directly. So as you can see, the generosity, as it goes higher, my GDP is on a lighter tone. And the social support is at a stand level over here. So where I do have a positive answer. Please show again, what do you do? Sure. Okay, for marks, what I did here is I went to the brush. For first I change the axis. So you can put it anything. So marks, you can make it as a diamond, whichever is comfortable for you. You can use that. Even if you want to use a diamond, you can also maintain only border to make it look like a semi-transparent output. So feel free to use or take your choice. Okay, so I'll reduce it to, let's say, somewhat maybe 12. Then scroll down, look for the section color. We remember yesterday we did conditional formatting on FX, and I already mentioned wherever you see FX is conditional formatting. So in conditional formatting, I applied GDP as the base, and I applied the color range in this case. The higher value is, let's say, reddish, and the lower value is grayish. So try it out at your end, guys. I know it was a collection of steps, so I'll give you guys 2 to 3 minutes for this. Double clear. That's really good. Great. That's awesome. Try it out, guys. Completed it here, guys. I'll just wait for another 2 more minutes max. Abdul, if I understand your question, you are asking how to edit or modify your conditional formatting. Just come back to the brush again. Click on FX. And once you are in the FX, you can make the changes from here directly. So anything that you incorporated, you can simply do the edit once again. So you just go to the drop down. You can set it back to summation. So whichever step you performed, you just reverse the step and you will get the output. And to edit it into default, always under those sections, there is always a button called reset. So if I showed you reset to default, you click on that, the entire thing goes back to normal. But I'm referring for the formatting. But if in case you want to reset the visualization back to summation, you will have to do that manually using this particular drop down. I hope that answers your question. Okay, great. Guys, please type done in the chat once you are done with the second visual. Great. So Namita is through. That's great. Tanoya is also through. That's awesome. So as I mentioned yesterday, scatter plot, what we learned yesterday was just a tip. This is the actual mountain here. So there are many things once you get into detailed. Definitely, we do have a time shortage. So in a span of 7 days or the number of days that we had with us, so it will not be everything will not be covered. But once definitely when you onboard yourself, you will get an understanding of a bit more detail or a detailed output of how DA works, how analytical works, and so on and so forth. Okay, so a few more to go. I could see 3 to 4 people done, waiting for others, or let's say another 30 more seconds, and then I'll proceed further. Perfect, great. Awesome, guys. Now coming to the next visual here. So in this visual, this is one of my favorites because it eases out my work also. It eases out my work of effort, or you can put it like it eases out my effort in creating and analyzing a report. Basically, Power BI in this case is taking a share of my workload on itself. And that's something I like about Power BI in this case. Let me show you how and how to use it. For this, I would request all of you to please select another scatter plot. Definitely stick it on the bottom left in this case. Do select the visual. Now, let me help you understand why this is important. Because whichever visual you select, you get an option 3 dot for the selected visual. In this case, you may get a confusion that whether this particular dot is for this 3-1 or which one. Because if I come to this particular mouse, I have a 3 dot over here, I have a 3 dot over here. In this case, I'm hovering my mouse on this visual. That's why this 3 dot belongs to the visual at the bottom. But if I hover the mouse on the first one, then it's not visible because the dot is not appearing. But once you select it, definitely the dots are available. In this case, the second visual, my mouse is over it. So you may misunderstand that this 3 dot belongs to the second or the third visual in this case, which is wrong. So always be mindful to select the visual before using the three dot. That will really help you to avoid any mistake in the future. Now, coming back to our output here. So in the last visual, the third visual, okay, what we'll be using is freedom to make life choice and healthy life expectation. Let them be in the sum mode and use country as the base value. Just try this out, guys. Freedom to make life choice, healthy life expectation. Just complete this here and please type done, because the next visual what we need or what we are about to create, Power BI requires these value. So it does not work on the do not sum mode. It does not work on the do not sum mode. It does require summation, but it does help us in a very extensive way. So please complete it here. And after this, we will follow each and every step together. After this, we will be following each and every step together. So exactly, you will be following my step. Please type done once you are through till here. The scatter plot should give freedom to make life choice, healthy life expectation across countries. Okay. Okay, great, guys. Three of them are through, waiting for others, confirmation. It's the same visual, guys. It's not something difficult. We have already learned this. Country into the value, freedom to make life choice in the x-axis, healthy life expectation into the y-axis. Now, once you are at this particular stage, now I really do not have an understanding of head and tail of this vision, let's say. Now, as a, let's say, DA, you will definitely understand the pattern in this. But I really don't understand, like, what is this entire scatter? Let's say this is a sideways, I can somewhere understand. I can understand over here, some section has the bottom, some is on the right top corner. But in this situation, the data is all scattered. Data is all scattered. And from this scattering, now, if I'm not sure whether you're familiar, that the scatter chart was actually somewhat a replication of a scatter stars in our galaxy. That's how the scatter chart was also been brought in, right? So this is exactly like a scatter. So in stars, we call something called cluster. A group of stars or a collection of stars are also referred as clusters. And that's how under scatter plot, there came an element called clustering, where you group a collection of dots and you mark it as one cluster. I want to do that in Power BI. Now, how to do it? The simplest way, I want all of us to do that with me. Please click on your visual. Please click on your visual. You don't need to select anything, just click on your visual. Once the visual is selected, go to the three dot on the right side. You will be finding a magical option called automatically find cluster. Automatically find cluster. You click on it. And that gives you a window where you can specify a cluster, a set of clusters directly. For example, you can give the name over here. Okay, let's say I'll give a name as freedom versus health. Okay, under description, if you want to mention anything, you can. If not, then you can keep it blank. That's totally fine. But the thing that you need to mention here is the number of clusters you are looking for. By default, Power BI gives a range of cluster from 3 to 5. If you do not give a number, it's always better to give a number or give a number of clusters that you are looking for. In this case, I would like to have cluster of 3. I would like to have a cluster of 3. So Power BI runs its permutation combination using a method called Keynes method and will start plotting the cluster for me. You can Google it up in a later stage, what is Keynes method. But for now, once you perform this output, click OK and let me know in the chat, what do you see? Yeah, Leela, tell me what's your question? You can unmute yourself. Just hold on. Yeah, you can unmute yourself. Go ahead. Leela, any question? Okay, moving on. So once you understand, once you have given this number 3, you click OK and automatically you should be able to see 3 colors getting plotted onto your scatter. Let me know if the answer is same. If you are seeing 3 clusters or 3 colors, if you are seeing 3 colors, type same in the chat box. So you would be seeing something like this, where a set of color is on the top right corner, a set of color is on the top, and the set of color is at the bottom, indicating these are the 3 type of countries that we are having. A country who is having a higher healthy life expectation, higher freedom to make life choice. A country which has higher healthy life expectation, but lower freedom to make life choice. And the last one is where the other way around. This way, the communication becomes very easy at the scatter plot level. I would not say machine learning, but yes, I would not. So it's a method which actually uses, let's say, the median. So if you look into the calculation, there is a calculation behind Keynes method. So I would not say machine learning aspect. There is another element of machine learning which we will be learning, but this is not machine learning. This is a specific calculation that has been performed on it. Basically identifying the median, and from that median, how far are the plots, and based on that, then the calculation or the decision is made whether sorry, whether it's fall into one cluster or the other. Namita, I hope that answers your question. So machine learning is different element here. This is basically a formulation of. Perfect. I'm waiting for others' confirmation. Please type done in the chat if you all have the same output. You should be seeing 3 cluster. Definitely, as of now, the cluster names are cluster 1, cluster 2, and cluster 3. And let me also help you understand why I like this visual. I'll also come to that. Why I like this particular tool. And if you enjoyed what you saw right now, please put a high five in the chat box. You can use the emoji. That way I understand the topic that you are learning, you are enjoying it as we go ahead. Great. Well, let me put it like this. Yeah, perfect. Awesome. Now, how can I use it? First and foremost, let's rename the cluster properly. The best thing that you need to understand is this cluster is not just a field. It's actually a proper column created by Power BI. If you see on the right side, there is a waffle kind of an icon appearing with the clustering into it. There is a waffle kind of an icon created automatically. And if you want to check, you can go actually in the data view. You can also go into the data view and click on World Happiness Report. You will see a dedicated column is created with cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3 being plotted over there. This is how Power BI is smart enough that it actually creates a column for you directly. right? But yes, definitely, I as a normal user won't understand what is cluster 1, cluster 2, cluster 3. So let's name it properly. Let me take up a question first. So please. So Abdul, this particular data we have collated it from internet. So let me put the link in the chat so you can use it. Just hold on for a minute. So just do Google and just type down World Happiness Report, Wikipedia. You'll get the link. I'll just share the link in the chat anyways. Give me just 1 second. Here we go. So I pasted the link in the chat for your reference. So please use this link and you can refer it. So each cluster represent different. Yes, yes, that's exactly correct. Each cluster represent, let's say if cluster 1, if I represent, that's a high level cluster. Let's say this can be cluster 2, which represents a mid level cluster, and cluster 3 can represent the low level cluster. So this is a high, medium, and low parameters what I've created. Yes, exactly correct. Perfect. Now, how do I name these high, medium, and low? I want to identify cluster 1 as high, cluster 2 as medium, and cluster 3 as low, so that I can make sense out of it. Now, to do that, come to the field, actual field, and on the right side, there is a 3 dot. Go to the 3 dot, that is more option, and there will be a feature called edit cluster. There will be a feature called edit cluster. Before I go into it, let me help you with one small detail. Once the cluster is added, you will not be able to go to 3 dot again and identify the cluster again. Why? Because if a scatter plot already has colors on it, it cannot apply a cluster on it. Now, when I say color, I'm specifically saying for legend. If a scatter has a legend on it, then identify cluster will not work. If the legend is removed, let's say as I showed you, the legend is removed, then you can have identify cluster again. So anything, if there is already added in the legend, you will not be able to see identify the cluster. Be mindful of that. So coming back to the previous output here. So I'll go to the 3 dot. I click on edit cluster. I click on edit cluster. That brings up this particular box for me. And then I can double click on these names of clusters and rename it from here. Don't double click on the number, it will not work. You will have to double click on the name here. So cluster 1, I'll rename it as high. Cluster 2, I rename it as medium, and cluster 3, I rename it as low. Once I'm done with the renaming, I just click OK and confirm the output. As soon as I do so, my Power BI automatically updates. Sometimes it also updates the color, and that's fine. But now I have a ready report which I can make easy communication out of. I'd request all of you to please try this out. I request all of you to please try this out at your end. I'll take a pause of 1 minute here, max. To increase the set size, you can come to the, let's say, magnify or the brush over here, and under marker, you can do that. Or the second approach, which I normally recommend, let's say in case you are using this or you want to just emphasize or expand this for the time being, then you can actually use this particular icon called focus mode. Focus mode maximize the visual temporary, where you can explain the visual at your end. Once the explanation is done, you can use a back to report to go back into your original mode. So normally I use this in case if I have to use a visual to, like, say, my level of output. To maximize the whole sheet, on the right side, there is a fit to page interface. On the right side, there is a zoom in and zoom out interface, right? So if it is, let's say, way zoomed out, something like this, then on the right corner, just next to the zoom percentage, there is an option called fit to page. Click on it, it will fit in. Or the second approach is go to the view tab. Let me bring the panel out. So there is an option called page view. Here there are options like actual size, fit to width and all. So you just click on fit to page. That will fit to your screen entirely. I hope that answers the question, Namita. Oh, good, good. Great, guys. Okay. Kapil, go ahead. What's your question? You can unmute yourself.
JK, there are how many types of symbols are there which can be read as, like, for country there is a globe. Now for this freedom of, now what we have calculated for the cluster, there is another type of symbols. So how to identify the symbols differently?
So this is a waffle. Waffle is an indicator of cluster. Then there will be something called as a calculator. Calculator. Okay, let me show one. So let's say if I put a measure. So if it looks like this, a calculator, it's a measure. Sorry, just a sec. Yeah. So you're able to see this is a calculator. And when you see a calculator like this, it's a measure. Then there is something called as a table with a fx on it and table with a sigma column on it. For example, when you click a calculative column, a new column, you would be seeing something like this, a sigma value on it, indicating it's a calculative column with a result as a number. But if you see an fx on it, it means it's a calculation but with a result, which is a text on it. So that's how you can identify the column types. And rest is like sigma and value with nothing. Those are the outputs. I hope that answers the question. Just mention in the chat if it's clear. Yeah. Great, great. Perfect. Now coming to the point, where will I use this? Where will I use it? And this is where my favorite element comes in. In this, I would take a map. I would take a map. I would drag country into the location. I would drag country into the location. And now I would drag this waffle into the legend. So this waffle is not only that you have to use it on the scatter. Once this is a physical column, you can use it in any and every visual that you have. Basically, now if I click on high, I exactly know which all country goes under the high category. If I click on low, I see countries which belongs to low category. And if I click on medium, I see countries with medium category. So just by clicking on these labels, I'm able to identify results onto my screen. The same can be done on a map as well. Definitely, that also gives you the output accordingly. This is how your analysis on the data goes one step ahead. So normally creating a scatter is something that a general person will do. We need to go one step beyond it. And this is what the added value of that output is. Request all of you to please complete till here. So make a map. Make a map. You can also change the map into another visual also. Let's say, for example, if not this, you can actually plot a shape map or fill map. In that also, you can plot this information. So you can see visually, it gives you an idea of high, medium, and low bound answer. So you can use any map of your choice. And you will get an answer. Try it out. I'll take a pause of a minute here. But if there are any questions or queries, I'll be happy to answer them. And if you guys are done, please type done in the chat so that I get an understanding. We can proceed further. Great, great. Please do save your Power BI file because we have almost done a lot of things in this 3-4 day sessions itself. So please save your file. Because now we'll be loading a data from internet to get more insights. Okay, cluster seems to be one of the okay. So Tanaya, I can say it's one of the frequently used, but there are even other tools which will amaze you, which like Power BI has stored itself for it. So there are way more stuffs that you can explore. Definitely, this is depending on how you use it. Yeah. So as I said, people would have stopped using clusters. So after identifying the cluster, they would have stopped it. But then using in another visual is a key element, right? That's an added value here. Yeah, perfect, perfect. Yes, this is a fill map. Yes, the map that I'm using here is a fill map. That's why it's filling up the area. If you remember, yesterday we tried this out, but we were able to plot country. So there was a lot of colors into it. There were a lot of collection of colors into it. That's because every country was getting plotted differently. But now you understand how exactly the shape map or fill map is used. So this is how actually the output will come out once you plot the information for a specific country and a location. So actually, just to yes. So for conditional formatting or for formatting, you need to have a location value, right? So then once you get into that, then it allows you for the conditional formatting. But yes, so value over here in this map is not there. So if you see it's a fill map, right? It won't be there for values. Okay, great. When do we do? Okay, cool, cool. Okay, then okay. I'll keep it in mind. Okay, Tanay, right? Okay, I'll keep it in mind. Yeah, perfect. Okay, great. Now coming to the next part here. Okay, so once we understand this layer of output, just a small additional info that if you are using conditional formatting. Now, if you realize here on the third or the second visual that we already have applied a color on it. But then that color is not created based out of a legend. It is not created based out of a legend. If you drag a value which adds a color in legend is always prioritized. So it will override your conditional formatting and the coloring of that legend will be plotted. But the best part is the conditional formatting is still remembered by the visual. So as soon as you remove this legend, the previous conditional formatting will resume itself and I will have the original data back. I will have the original data back. So that's just a small heads up for the scatter map in this case. So now let's create a new sheet. Let's give it a name, RDBMS. Just give it a name, RDBMS, Relational Database Management System. So we'll just take a very small information to communicate this. So requesting all of you to complete till here. Yeah, Kapil, exactly. So earlier it was Power View. So in Excel, we used to have Power, but then to use Power View, you need to install Silverlight. So there was some like criteria that gets attached with it. But in this case, you can do it directly through that. I'll just wait for another 30 seconds more and then I'll proceed further. Please type done, guys, once you are done with the previous chart and you have created the sheet RDBMS. Okay, great. Perfect. Now let me help you understand what I'm trying to make here. So I'm coming to the data view here, and in my world happiness report, I have country with me. So I have the names of the country and I have around 153 countries from the list, right? Now I want to mark them under continents. So we have continents with it, like Asia is there, US is there. So I want to mark them as a continent. But I don't have that information right now, but it's available on the internet. Definitely it's available on the internet. So let's do a search on it. So I would request all of you to please go to Google and search for continents and countries of world. Country and continents of the world. Please search for it. So you'll be seeing that what are the continents. So Asia is there, Europe is there, North America is there, South America, Africa. So these are the 7 continents, right? I want to have these 7 continents tagged. But then I want to have this in a data which I can load it in Power BI. So what I do here is I'll scroll down. Once you search for this, I'll scroll down and I'll look for the link, World Population View. World Population View. Come to this and open it in a new tab. Open it in a new tab and this is where you should land up to. Let me paste this link in the chat as well for your comfort. If not this, you can come down as well. So there are other links also. So I'll also paste this link in the chat for your reference, by the way. So please access this link and launch this particular page. Please access this link and launch this page because you'll have to scroll down you will see a table. Now, this is not the table we are looking for. Oh, sorry. This is. Let me just open. I guess I opened the wrong link. Just hold on. Let me open this one. Yeah, let's look at it. Yeah, this is the one. World population. Let me copy this link again. Oh, yeah. Please call. Okay, I've pasted the second link, guys. Please use that. So you can scroll down here in the skills. Let me refresh this. Advertisement. Yeah. So as you scroll to the extreme bottom, there will be a small table showing you the list for the year 2023. You can download the JSON file, you can download the CSV, but we will be taking the data directly from the internet. We'll be taking the data directly from the internet. So this is the page that we would like to use. So which are the continent and which are the country belonging to those continents. Right? So you already know the process of loading the data, right? Yes or no? Yes, Pandutarak, tell me what's your question. You can unmute yourself. Okay, I think there are no questions then. Okay, so please copy this link. Come to your Power BI. Now we will be loading this data to have a connection so that I can get that extra information here. Okay, so come to the Home tab. Come to the Home tab, get data, something that we have already done. Web. I paste the URL, click OK. So some cases it will ask you for a window to provide the access, anonymous or organization. Go for anonymous. And here it will show you under navigation, the table which you will have to load. Kamju, go ahead. What's your question?
Sir, good evening. Which link we should give, sir?
Sorry, come again.
Which link, sir? Two links you sent it.
Second link. Let me paste the link again in the chat.
Yeah,
So
sir.
the link that has been shared latest, that would be the one.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Welcome. Okay, so once you are here, guys, so you'll be referring the table. So if you click on these tables, you will have a demo, and the one that you're referring is table 1. But this time you will not be clicking on load. So please do not click on load this time. This time you'll have to click on transform data, because there's a small correction that you will have to do on the data view. First, I would request all of you to please type done in the chat box once you reach this stage. Under the navigation stage, where you click on the table 1 and you are able to see the information. Reach to this particular phase and type done in the chat box. Please mute. Please type done. Yeah. So once more, can you show how to connect the data? Yep, sure, I can do that. No worries. So to connect the data, first you go to get data drop down under the home tab. Then go to web. It'll ask you for the URL, right? Just paste the URL in the box. Click OK and confirm it. Now, Once that is done, it will load the interface. To load the interface, click on table 1 to confirm the table. Deepali will come to that, why we are using transform. Just give me 1 minute. I'm just waiting for everyone's confirmation. Okay, perfect. Select table 1, and this time I would request all of us to click on transform data. Now let me help you understand what is transform data. Transform data allows you to clean the data. Basically, imagine until now we were loading the data because our data was all sanitized and clean. Normally, we don't get the data the way we want it. Normally, we have to do a little bit of cleansing in it. Let's say maybe the headings are not there, or let's say the numbers are not correctly plotted, or anything as such. So whenever you want to clean the data, or whenever you want to perform some edits into it, then you use the transform data. It's also termed as the ETL tool: extract, transform, and load. It helps us to extract the data from a source, transform the data into a meaningful output, and then load it into Power BI. So it's also a platform which is termed as Power Query, which is a part of your Excel as well. Yes, it creates an edit window. So when I click on transform data or edit, whichever is available on your screen, it actually launches another interface. At a Power BI level, it will show you a yellow band indicating apply the changes or discard the changes. It means there is something that's happening at the back end. Don't do anything in this case. But let me bring the second frame on the screen. This is what you would be seeing, a Power Query editor. If you see on the top left, it says Power BI, Power Query editor. This editor allows you to do any and every type of cleaning, data cleaning on this data set. So as you can see on the left side, the sample report, the world happiness report, and the table 1 is already loaded here. This query may be hidden at times. You can use a greater than symbol to bring it out. The very important tool in this entire box is the right settings, query setting, because it keeps the track of all the steps that was performed. Starting with the first one, the table name itself. So in this case, this is continent. So I'll just name it properly. Okay, so I'll just name it short continent. Now here, only one correction that we have to do is the column name is not column 1 and column 2. It's actually country and continent, which apparently is the first row. I want my Power Query to understand. Please consider this first row as the heading. So what we do here is we come to transform tab. Now here I'll just help you understand the basics of it, but there are more detailed level of learning which we may do in the future sessions when we enroll in. But for now, we'll not only be learning the very basics of this because it will take a lot of time to cover it up. So under transform, there's a button over here, second button to be specific. Use the first row as header. Exactly correct. You click on it and automatically the header is promoted, and now I have a correct column headings. And that's exactly what's the data is needed. Shiv, tell me what's your question. You can unmute yourself. Okay. Yes, exactly. Kapil, it is available in the home tab as well, definitely. But it is also available in the shortcut. If you see, there's a small shortcut here. It's available over here as well. Now, I used it from the main tab so that everyone is familiar where the actual tool is. That was the only purpose to it. So as I said earlier, home tab, if you remember in Power BI I mentioned, home tab holds everything that's frequently used. That's why it's there in the home tab, because this is one of the options that majority of the developers use frequently. So it keeps getting added accordingly. Perfect. Once your correction is done, this is all what we need to correct here, guys. Once the correction is done here, just click on close and apply. Just click on close and apply, and that data gets loaded into Power BI. And the next best thing that Power BI does is Power BI reads your data and tries to understand a common link between these data tables. It tries to understand the common link between these data tables and makes a relationship automatically. First, I would request all of you to please click on close and apply from the home tab. Click on close and apply from the home tab so that the data gets loaded into your Power BI. Once it's loaded, you should be seeing country or continent loaded. And now if you come to the model view, you should be seeing a diagram similar to this, where sample report and world happiness report is connected with your continent table. Sample report and world happiness report is connected with your continent table. Let me know if all of you guys are having the same output at your end. So this is how Power BI helps you to get your work done faster. Sure, once the data is loaded, just click on close and apply under Power Query. Once you are done with the promote header, okay, click on close and apply, and then let me show you where is close and apply. Let me open the editor. By the way, in case if you want to open Power Query once again from Power BI, let me show you that as well. So under the home tab, there's a button transform data. Just click on it. It will take you to Power Query directly. So here, this is the data that was loaded. You promoted the header, right? So on the left, you just click on close and apply. Once it is closed, it automatically gets uploaded over here and you can see the data. Once the data is loaded, once your data is loaded into your Power BI smartly recognize the common connection. You can see when you hover the mouse on that line, it shows you what's the common element between those tables. Country is common. So it creates the connection directly between them. Now, what's the meaning of this one and one to many? I'll explain that, but first let's complete this. Once you all have the same interface, please type same in the chat box. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine, guys. So it may be arranged on the right side. So let's say something like this would be there. Arrangement does not matter. In this case, I've just arranged it manually. So that's totally okay. Okay, perfect, perfect. Great, guys. Now, coming further, now, what is this one to many or one to one? One to one means one country is there in the second table. It says one to many. That means one country over the like from the main table is repeating multiple number of times in the sample table. That's one to many. Let's say, for example, in the sample, it's a sales, right? So there would be multiple records, and multiple records will have word India one below the other. To give an example, if I go for continent, you can see all the countries are mentioned only once. There would not be any country repeating themselves. But in the sample report, the country may be repeating. So you see Germany is repeating multiple number of times. Canada is repeating multiple number of times. The meaning of this direction is that one record from the continent table is repeating multiple number of times in the sale, but in the second table, it's 1 to 1. Means 1 A to A comparison, apple to apple. So this is how the relationship and the connection works. Now, what is the benefit of, what is the use of this? What is the purpose of this? Now, for that purpose, let's do a small visual to make it a clear picture. To make it a clear picture, I want all of us to please plot a map. Please plot a map. Okay. I'll plot it over here, something like this. Let's plot country into the location. Just plot country into the location. And now plot continent. But before plotting it, let's make a habit of tagging them properly. So tag them as a continent. Oh, this is country. Sorry, I tagged it wrongly. Let me tag it as country here. And this is continent. So let me tag it as a continent first. Continent. So let's keep it, although it's not required, guys, because Power BI will recognize it, but it's always a good habit to do this. Just tag it into the legend. Tag it into the legend. Automatically, your data will be plotted at a continental level. Oh, let me put it in the legend. Yeah. So you can see automatically the data gets tagged into the continental level. And because you have this information now, you can also plot another chart. You can also plot another chart indicating continent-wise GDP. Continent-wise GDP. This is what your Power BI is capable of with a relationship. And let's say a pie chart representing high, medium, low for GDP. So to an extent where you can play around with data. So now if you click on a pie indicating high, medium, low, which are the countries at a continental level, if you specifically select a continent, that continent zooms in and shows you the record accordingly. And this is how your entire Power BI becomes a full-fledged interactive output. Please try this out at your end. Please try this out at your end. So this is how a full-fledged or an analytics or data analyst work. So you started with a World Happiness Report. Gradually, you understand how a visual works. And then by the end, today, you are able to connect all the data and incorporate all your past learning into a one final report. Swapnil, go ahead. What's your question? Go ahead. You can unmute yourself. Map field, yes, definitely. So under location, I'm putting country, and under legend, I'm putting continent. If you want, you can put values as well. So GDP and other stuffs into the value field. That's totally fine. But I'm not putting in this case because then the circles will be bigger and small. Perfect. This is not showing one-to-one relationship. No, it will not show one-to-one relationship in both tables. One-to-one is only possible if one record is there in one. So like if first record has India, second record has only one line of India. And that's how World Happiness Report is also showing, right? Country is not repeating themselves. Same goes for continent. In one continent, country cannot be repeated. That's why it's a one-to-one relationship. When a country repeats themselves, that's where it says one-to-many relationship. Okay, and to also check, just hover the mouse on the line, it shows you the connection of the country. That's where you understand what are the columns being used over there. Perfect, perfect. Okay, I will repeat, no worries. Okay, so I'll repeat the process once again. So step one is over here. So in the map, okay, I've used the first map, standard map. The fields that I'm using is, I'm using World Happiness Report country under location. Then I'm using continent from continent call, like the table continent, and putting into the legend. That plots the area and shows me the continent for myself, like which are the continent. There is one blank continent, which is apparently the continent which is not been tagged, or the name is not matching. Okay. So depending on this, you can plot. Basically, selection will work accordingly. After plotting the map, what I did is, I took the second table, which is just a standard bar chart, stacked bar chart. Okay. And I plot continent into the x-axis. And I took GDP per capita into, sorry, continent into the y-axis and GDP per capita into the x-axis. And then last was, you remember the scatter that we created? The clustering. Okay. I use a cluster under the funnel chart. I use a pie, but the pie was looking a little bit cluttered. So I use a funnel chart. Under category, I use the cluster. And the value was based on GDP. You can pick up any field here, but let's say I'm going with the GDP in this case. I hope that answers the question. Kamju, go ahead. What's your question? You can unmute yourself.
Sir, how to plot it, sir?
Which chart? Because there are three here.
Map, sir.
Map, you have to plot first country into the location.
Okay, sir.
And then continent into the legend.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, Vanita, tell me what's your question? You can unmute yourself. Okay, I take no question then. Kapil, go ahead. What's your question?
As the country and contents are same, they have managed the relation in there. So
Yeah.
we can choose any one of them, correct?
Yes, yes, definitely. You can also choose a country to get the result across, indicating which sector, which category they fall under. Or you can do let's say continent selection as well. Both will work. Let's say if I click on India right now, so I can see India falls under high category with a 0.7 and it falls under Asia. So you can do it in both ways. Because of this relationship, it is possible. Perfect, perfect. By the way, guys, I believe the attendance is shared in the chat box. So for the next 1 minute, I'll take a pause. So I'll request all of you to please mark your attendance. So my colleague Amar has actually posted the chat link on the chat. So please go ahead and complete that. Let me save this file by the time. Okay, I hope we are good till here, guys. Great, great. Okay. Once you guys are done with the attendance, please just type done in the chat so that I get a heads up. How to get data from JSON? To get the data from JSON, you just have to go to get data, click on more, and from there you can select a JSON file. Or the second approach is you can also use Google, just a standard browser search to understand, let's say, JSON to Excel or JSON to CSV. That will allow you to convert a JSON file into a CSV file. So you can do it that way. Great, great. Okay. Perfect, guys. Now, once we understand this, now let's understand a little bit more about AI. I'll just do a kickstart today, and then gradually as we progress, we will understand a little bit more in detail about that. So what's an AI in this case, or what's the kind of output that you can build in? Okay, so let's understand that, and let me give you a flavor to that. I would request all of you to please open up a new fresh sheet. Just give it a name, chatbot. Give it a name, chatbot. So as we were discussing about AI today, so I just thought of putting that as a topic today itself. Once you're done with this, just type down in the chat, please. Great, great. Kapil, I really appreciate your feedback. Thank you very much. Really appreciating that. Cool. Now coming to the output for the day. So in this, how Power BI works is Power BI reads and understands your entire data. So in this case, as you can see, there is a collection of data here, right? So it understands these data, and based on that, it starts plotting the report. Let's say, for example, the visual that I'm referring is Q&A. Second last row, fourth visual. Abdul, thank you for your feedback. Really appreciating that. I request all of you to please click on Q&A. Q&A is a visual where you just have to type a question and the visualization is created for you on behalf of Power BI. Like on behalf of you, Power BI will rather pick up the question, whatever you are typing, and will start creating a visual based on that. For example, country, okay, let's say GDP. I'm just mentioning country space GDP. That's it. Just two information I'm giving in here. So Power BI is now going through my entire data set, and whatever best comes up, it gives me that data directly. So it says the total GDP is over here. So it's not able to capture country. So let's say, yeah. So now it's able to capture. So you see country GDP per capita, it automatically plots the area. Now let's say I don't want map. I don't want a column chart. I'll type column here. It should give me a column chart. Oh, it's not able to give me a column. Okay, let's say bar. Oh yeah, let's go with a bar chart. So you can see it gives me a bar chart directly. Let me pick up, let's say pie. I want a pie chart. It gives me a pie chart. So basically whatever I type here, it gives me the data. Let's say, for example, I want to see product-wise sales. Product-wise sales. And you can see it gives me product-wise sales. Let's say I want to have a pie. So I get a pie chart. It's as simple as this. You type in, you get the visual. This is a maximum level of laziness that we guys can have, guys. Trust me on this line. This is the highest level of laziness. Like in general term, isse zyada aalsi nahi bana sakte. This is the max level, guys. This is all Power BI can give you. Now, Power BI can't go beyond this to give a report where just you click and the report is ready. That's not possible, right? So this is the at most what Power BI is able to give right now, although there are additional options which I have not covered yet, but definitely it will be coming up ahead. So, okay, to answer the question where we can use the chatbot, let's say imagine you are sitting in front of a CEO, director, manager, partner, any senior management team, and they are simply throwing question, okay, give me country-wise sales, give me country-wise cost, give me month-on-month profit. So let's say year-wise sales. So if they ask you something like this, rather than plotting informations, so it gives you the data directly. It gives you the data directly on the screen. So just plot the question here, you get the data directly on the output. So this is how quick or the Q&A visualization works. I hope that answers your question. So it is really helpful. Now, again, definitely this is not, I would not say use only this. Definitely whenever making a dashboard on a visual, the recommendation will be properly using the charts and everything. But definitely this will save a lot of your time. It's kind of a chatbot where Power BI and AI is incorporating itself to make a visual for us. And yes, as always, if you enjoyed what you saw, I would request you all to just type down a high five in the chat box, in a way letting me know that you guys enjoyed it. Great, guys. Great. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed the learning. Great, great. Awesome, guys. So I'll take a pause for the day. So that's about it. So a lot of information was thrown at you today, but I believe that was worth the time and effort. So I hope that you guys will try and practice this, whatever we learned today, yesterday, and till that day. So I'll take a pause, but definitely, as always, I'll love to get your feedback. So in the scale of 1 to 5, please let me know what do you think today's session was worth, and then I will conclude today's session. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your feedback. Really appreciate your time and effort here. Good night, guys. Really appreciating your time. Oh, 555. That's good. That's good. Thank you. Thank you for that. Great, guys. So I'll hand over the platform to Amar now. So Amar, please take it up from this point.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
Yeah. So guys, I already shared the attendance link in the chat. I am sharing once again. If anybody is remaining, please mark your attendance and give your valuable feedback. And one more announcement for YouTube participants. Guys, from tomorrow onward, we are remaining with the 3 days. We are not YouTube live. So I request you to join using Zoom link. So I already shared the Zoom link in the YouTube chat. I am sharing once again, just a moment. If you have any query question, please drop in the chat box. Yes, Madhavi, same platform you need to join. Okay, so guys, from tomorrow for next 3 days, we are not live on YouTube because our another program is going to run. So I request to all of you, please join using Zoom. So I will share the Zoom link in here also, so you can share with your friends if anybody needed at the time. Yeah, and one more thing, the Zoom link is same for all remaining 3 days. If you have any question, queries, guys? Yeah, you can post in chat box or else you can unmute yourself. Yes, digital marketing is also going to start from tomorrow at same time. But you are able to attend anyone. After that, you can see your recorded sessions of the digital marketing. We are just overlapping the 3 days. Then from Monday onwards, you can join the digital marketing also. Anamita, anybody can register for that, not an issue. No, we'll upload the, yeah, definitely. We'll upload that in the YouTube. Don't worry about that. You will get the all the recorded sessions in YouTube as well as in LMS. Yeah, Namita, you need to register for that. Sir, have we received certificates? So regarding the certificate, I will explain all the things in the last session only. What was the criteria, where you need to submit or where you get the assignments, how to access the material, each and everything I will explain in the last session only. Huma Sheikh, which link you want? Okay, you're looking for attendance links. 1 minute, I am sharing. Welcome, Vinayak. I hope you're enjoying the sessions. Attendance link. 1 minute, guys, I'm sharing that. Huma Sheikh, same link. Same time is same, 7 to 9 only. Ishika, every month we are launching 2 new programs. So just yeah, you will get all the information via emails. So no need to worry about that. Yeah, welcome, Humashik. Guys, anything else? You have any question, queries? Please drop it in chat box, or else we'll wind up the session. Deepak, time is the same for Zoom class, 7 to 9. Okay, registration link for digital marketing. I am sharing in the chat box, guys. Yeah, I shared that link in the chat box. I'm sharing in the YouTube also. You will get the access of digital marketing classroom. Zoom link will be provided again through a mail. No, Madhvi, Zoom link is the same. Rajeshwari asking for attendance link. Okay, Rajeshwari. You're welcome, Madhvi. Any question, guys? Any different question? You're facing any difficulties? Welcome, Deepak. No problem. Net problem, yeah, no problem. What do you want to say, Rajeshwari? Zoom is not available here. Then how you join today's session? Ishika question is that I didn't get email for digital marketing. Then how can I get details for procuring courses? Ishika, I already shared the registration link for digital marketing. You can go and simply register for that. Then you will get the one email. Okay, Rajeshwari. Then you need to see the recorded sessions actually, if you have not a proper net with you. No
Sir,
problem, Rajeshwari.
sessions are available.
Sorry, can you repeat, please?
Sir, where the recorded sessions are available?
Yeah, recorded sessions are available in the LMS only. You have access to LMS?
No, sir.
Yeah, just drop a mail on edl@excelr.com. Our team will help you on the same.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Anything else? I posted the email ID in chat box. If you have any query, any question, please drop a mail. I'm sharing in YouTube also. Okay, so bye guys. Good night. We'll meet you on tomorrow at same time. There is one more question from who is there? Shekhar, you have some question? Rajeshwari asking for attendance link. Okay. 1 minute, Rajeshwari. I will share that. Yeah, share. Guys, so thank you so much. We'll meet you on tomorrow at same time. So bye bye. Good night.